千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we take a deep dive into the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. As always, I want to extend my welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. I would like to invite you to center your thoughts and direct your attention to this moment in time, to the here and now, to be fully present and mindfully aware as we are ready ourselves for this sacred process in the Tao with one another. Now, when we talk about external appearance, beauty, perhaps not so beautiful, versus internal beauty or ugliness, there is a story from the Tao tradition that I would like to share with you. It is a story from Chuang Tzu called The Ugly Man. It is not one of the well-known stories, so I am especially happy to be able to share it with you. Here's the Chuang Tzu story of the ugly man. In ancient China, back in the days of the warring states, one of the most powerful rulers was Duke Ai in the Lu Kingdom. The Duke has something on his mind that puzzled him. He could not resolve it on his own, so he decided to consult with Confucius. He said to Confucius, there was a man in the Wei Kingdom known for being ugly. Despite that, men who spent time with him ended up not wanting to leave his company. Women who met him told their parents, I would rather be his concubine than someone else's wife. There were more than 10 women like that, and the number kept increasing. He never asserted his views. Instead, he often seemed to agree with others. He never had the power of a ruler to save people's lives, nor the wealth of a rich man to feed the hungry. He was ugly enough to scare everyone, and his knowledge did not extend beyond himself. Regardless, men and women all wished to get closer to him. So there must be something about him that made him different from the typical person. I summoned him to see for myself, and it was true. He was ugly to the extreme. However, after spending some time with him, in less than a month, I came to admire his character. In less than a year, I came to trust him completely. I didn't have a minister to handle the affairs of the state at the time, so I asked him to take on the job. He did not respond initially. When he finally responded, it sounded as if he wished to decline. I was disappointed, but still insisted on giving him the responsibility. He left soon after that, and I felt lost. I felt as if there was no one to share the pleasures of the kingdom with me. What sort of man was he? This was the question that the Duke put to Confucius. Confucius gave him a lengthy reply. At the end of his reply, he provided the Duke with the following conclusion. This man did not speak much, and yet he had people believing him. He did not accomplish much, and yet he drew people to him. You wished to entrust your kingdom to his care, and you felt apprehensive that he would not accept the appointment. This means he must be someone with both wisdom and talents internally, but does not reveal his virtues externally. That is what made him so different from the typical person. The end. The Tao. First, Confucius was perceptive. He pointed out the one thing that was the most crucial difference, because in general, most people were only too eager to showcase how much they knew, showcase their many talents. But this man preferred to keep to himself. He let any revelations about his hidden qualities occur organically and naturally over time. So he was not attracted to people because of power or wealth. As the Duke said, he had neither. He was not like a ruler. He could not save people's lives. He was not wealthy. He could not feed the hungry. He did not advance his views. He was not like a great speaker or debater. Nevertheless, people loved him. In addition to this most crucial point expressed by Confucius, we can also see the answers in the various descriptions provided by the Duke. The bottom line was that the man more than made up for his unattractive appearance with the intangible qualities he possessed. These qualities would not be apparent at first glance, exactly as we have discussed in terms of spiritual beauty, but this man could have his qualities be perceived in the course of one's interactions with him. So what made the ugly man attractive? What were the qualities? Well, he was a good listener. When so many people just wanted to tell everyone what they thought, the Duke described him as being more interested in hearing what people had to say, more interested in that than advancing his own views. Never underestimate the power of listening. He was unmoved by power. He was not tempted by power. The position of the Duke's minister was powerful and prestigious. Many people lusted after the position, but this man did not. This meant his personal goals were much more spiritual than material. He had the ability to let go. How so? Well, the palace of the ruler, the Duke, was full of luxuries. But when this man felt it was time for him to leave, he left it all behind without attachments. He could let go. He possessed internal, admirable character traits, which became obvious to other people only after they got to know him. As we talked about, for physical beauty, surface appearance would only be good for the initial impression. After that, inner qualities matter more in the long run. The man's virtues won over men and women, including the Duke himself. Among his admirable character traits, the most significant one was trustworthiness. This was important because it was in a setting where most people were out for themselves. The Duke wanted a friend to share the good things in life, someone to trust completely. And that is why it was such a loss to him when the man left. And remember what we talked about, that as people know beauty as beauty, ugliness arises. That means beauty stands out, becomes clear when subject to comparison. This applies to internal qualities every bit as it does on external physical beauty. When you look at these characteristics here, people would compare what the ugly man brought to the table in terms of his inner qualities, compare that with what they see in other people. They would note that many people were ego-driven. They loved the sound of their own voice, so they could not stop talking. This got annoying after a while. This was not attractive. They compared this man's position to power, being unmoved by power, to others, and they saw how many people were motivated by the pursuit of power. Definitely unattractive when seen clearly. We have that in our world today. After all, human nature has remained the same throughout the ages, and that's why we have it. We can see in the news those who chase after power. We can see their downfall, and it's a repulsive sight. What about letting go? Well, comparing to someone who is able to let go, we can notice, as the people in ancient times did notice, how many tend to grasp onto attachments with a death grip. When they do so, when they refuse to let go, they looked increasingly desperate in the process. Desperation is not a good look. Now, what about the admirable character traits? When we look around, we can see how there are people blessed with good looks. But then, if you get to know them, you uncover unsavory traits that were kept hidden initially. Compared to that, someone with beautiful internal traits is like a breath of fresh air. Lastly, the most important, trustworthiness. We look around and we realize one thing: not everyone can be trusted. There are people who betray a trust from you, whether through active sabotage or disseminating malicious rumors. Those people become every bit as unattractive as the trustworthy person is attractive. So there is a lot to be said for the internal qualities. I want to share with you that this idea is not unique to the East. This is something that is also something that can be found in Western culture and Western traditions. I want to bring to your attention Voltaire, French philosopher from about 250 years ago. There's a quote by Voltaire, in French, of course. Let me translate that alleged quote for you, I don't think this quote has been confirmed, but it's definitely out there as part of the Western cultural fabric. When translated, this phrase says, from Voltaire, "Give me a minute to make you forget my face with my conversation, and I will seduce the Queen of France." It's expressing a similar concept. The inner qualities. In the case of Voltaire, his wit, his intelligence that was very attractive to the people that got to know him. This applied to inner non-physical beauty. Now we can see the meaning of the line from Lao Tzu. When the world knows beauty as beauty, ugliness arises. It's true externally, it is just as true internally. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.